I think
Is it already or in order? Okay.
yeah, we're in order.
Alright. I just,
10:23:18 at 4 p.m.
okay, so I just want to go over one little thing first before I get it wrong. I was just asking about how we access the programs or the meetings here. If we happen not to be able to attend, how can we view it? And it is now called Granite North Television. And if you go to YouTube, that is where you'll access our meetings. And it's Granite North Television.
So is it not on Channel 2 anymore?
It's not on Channel 2. It was, you want to sit here and tell us all about it?
Yeah.
So,
So is there still a Channel 2 or is there no Channel 2?
Yes, but it's up in the 1000s and something.
So,
Or it isn't on number 2 on
It's
that?
not on number 2, it's,
so hi, I'm Justin Roshak. I'm volunteering as the Chad for the evening. And I'm a board member for what was Channel 2 and is now Granite North Television.
How do you spell your last name?
ROSHAK. So the cable company through which the public access is mediated has reorganized things. And this is my first level understanding. They bumped the public access channel to channel 1301 or 2, I can't recall which.
Really? 130?
130.
And do we actually get that channel?
I believe you do. If you get cable through a particular company, I think you do. So my recommendation, the way I watch the videos, particularly when I'm reporting for the Courier, which is my full-time job, is I will go to YouTube and the Granite North Television YouTube channel. If you type in Granite North Television into YouTube, it'll pop right up. YouTube's got the best video processing boxes, and so you don't deal with the kind of issues you would if you went through a website that's like our website, for instance. So that's how I get it. That's how I recommend you get it. It should be the first thing that pops up.
so I was just talking to him and saying that perhaps to get the word out to the public, if we, maybe a letter to the editor, or also asking Andrew to post it on the website, a link. This is where you can find our meetings if you happen to miss a meeting for any of us or for anybody out there who's looking for Channel 2 and the meetings. We should get the word out to them, and that would be 2 viable ways, I think, to do it. It's just a tiny little letter to the editor, and then maybe ask the town manager to place it on the.
I noticed that I think Channel 11 has moved to Channel 14.
It's been a whole set of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's been Channel 11 forever.
Because-
Now, is there any Channel 2 at the high school now anymore? Is that?
So Channel 2's relationship with the high school is in the process of being reorganized. One of our board members is Nate Reed, who's the new programming and TV production teacher at the CTC and at the high school.
Okay. Which is where Channel 2 originated.
Which is where it originated and where much of our critical hardware currently resides. Part of our goals for this year are to replace some of that hardware to put ourselves on a more permanently sustainable footing. But that's a conversation we can have at a later date.
Right.
But in terms of what's at the high school, we've got some stuff there, and we've got a good relationships with Nate Reed and Dr. Niles. And the school is one of our big sponsors because we film a lot of their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But currently, I think it's falling between both the town and the school. Neither one really has the authority of the whole program or Channel 2. So anyways, that's a discussion with Andrew later on, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You bet. I will say, because I'm a board member, I try to avoid writing about Channel 2. I sort of would consider that tooting my own horn a little too much. I would be happy to drop a line to my editors and let them know if either you or Chairman Kelly wanted to write a letter.
Sure.
And let them know that's coming, and I'm sure they'd be thrilled to print it.
I think, what does anyone think about
I
that?
think it seems to me on our town link, if you go into the town of Littleton, New Hampshire, down on the right hand side, down a little bit, there is a link to North Country Television. I think. You can check that real quick.
Yeah.
But I think it's over on the right and down a
Okay.
little bit. I think there's a link already there, but I'm not positive. Because I know I've looked up the selectmen's meetings on YouTube from the town website.
So it may be already there, but I think just getting the word out via the papers would be
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
But is everything that's on the YouTube feed on that channel 1301 or 1302?
Should be.
Okay. Because I'm sensing that, you know, there's gonna be an older clientele in Littleton
Sure.
that's gonna feel much more comfortable about flicking to that 1301.
And so combining the message about where they can find it online
Yeah.
and the channel they can find it on, that would be an ideal.
Oh,
That would be
yeah,
the
yeah,
best way to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's already,
So who has cable? Because I don't have cable. Can you check the channel?
Yep, I put them on the notes too. so-
Okay, great, thanks.
Heather's us, ahead of us, that's always a good place to be.
I'm glad one of us has their mind around the technology.
Okay, well, because, you know, because anyway, just myself included to some degree, I mean, not that I've never watched YouTube, but I mean, obviously, for those of us of a certain generation, to be able to come in the house, turn on the TV and, you know, click the channel,
If we had our druthers, we'd have stayed channel 2 on the TV
yeah.
because it's easy for everybody and everyone knows that.
Oh, yeah, that's right, so,
There wasn't a
well, I
negotiation.
hope they made it 1302 instead of 1301, because that would have at least had some semblance to,
Continuity,
yeah,
Fingers crossed.
but, you know,
Let's check it out.
I mean, Channel 11 Troop has been Channel 11 for 40 years,
Mhm.
and now it's Channel 40.
The old order
Things
changes.
change,
Yeah,
you
they
have to
do.
get used to it. Thank you, appreciate
But we
it.
don't have to like, when we read it.
All right, so we have a couple agencies here tonight. Hi there. And first on the board is, let's see if I have it right here, about the Notch Humane Society, Rich Kirkland.
Thank you.
Would you like to come up and sit
Sure,
here?
yeah. Thank you for your seeking information on the new process. I think that's great. I'm Rich Larkham. I'm with the Above the Notch Humane Society. It's an organization that was formed here in Littleton a little over 15 years ago. And it's a total volunteer organization, and we kind of service the surrounding communities, but primarily Littleton, with animal cruelty cases, unwanted animals, stray animals. We've, over the years, kind of spread out a little bit, and the Second Chance Humane Society splintered off from our group, and they focus more with the cats, and we focus more with dogs. We both do animal cruelty investigations and work with the police on that type of thing. We're a total volunteer organization. Our charter calls for 7 to 13 board members. No one gets paid. Over the years, we've rented kennel space from different professional kennels. That hasn't worked out very well as far as access to people who want to see the dogs and so on. We have our own little shelter now between exit 39 and 38, right on the Sugar Hill, Littleton, Bethlehem line. And we work, you know, with all the local towns. We don't charge any money. I mean, it used to be when I first came here 22 years ago, Littleton had a line item in the budget, I believe around $25,000 for an animal control officer. That kind of disappeared over the years, and now the local police and, you know, our organization kind of pick up the cost of that. We don't charge the town for animals that come into us as strays. I can think of dogs that have been hit in the middle of the night, the police take them to the emergency care, we pay for all of that, we take care of all that stuff. We had an animal cruelty kind of puppy mill thing that came up this year. The owner had died, the family didn't want to deal with all the animals. We came in at no cost to the town, took care of all the animals. We worked with other shelters like the North Conway's, No Kill, and cleaned up everything and took care of the animals. So we try to, you know, pay back in kind. Our budget over the last 12 years has averaged around $32,000 a year in terms of, we take a dog in, you know, we take care of the medical needs, you know, and some emergency situations may cost a lot more than a typical dog, but we've averaged $32,000 a year in expenditures. We've been asking the last couple of years for the town a special warrant of $5,000. We try to go out to the towns and we ask like $1 a person kind of thing. We will be sending out a fundraising request in November. We do a couple of fundraisers during the year, so we generate all of the income that covers that. We are also partnering with the Littleton Dog Park, and we haven't had an official vote yet, but I've talked to the committee. We're hoping to be able to raise $10,000 this year with a fundraiser to apply to the Littleton Dog Park, and we're pledging that. So we're moving forward, and this year we've submitted the request for a warrant article for $5,000. I'm in the process of getting the required signatures, and the support of the town has been greatly appreciated, and it's come back to the town far more than that in services in terms of what we've saved the town in terms of some of the room and board and crisis kind of situations. You probably heard about the case we were involved with as a state with the Great Danes. We've rescued over 100 Great Danes down there in Wolfboro. Right now, it's cost us over $2.5 million. We've got all the dogs. We've got custody. They're all adopted out now in good homes. And we've contributed to that both financially and also with our board members going down and working with the dogs over the last 2 years.
So that location was there, not necessarily here, right?
Where that happened was in Wolfboro, down Moultonboro. Where we ended up sheltering the dogs was kind of a confidential site outside of the Plymouth area, and we went down personally, worked, volunteered. I mean, none of us got any money, and you know, we contributed to that. But we also contribute to other areas, things beyond just the local town, and so we're involved with some other legislation. The puppy mill things in small towns are. It's weird, I don't know if you're aware of this, but if there's an animal complaint, and we've had a few of them, and locally we have absorbed the cost, so local towns have not had to pay this, but what normally happened, let's say a puppy mill was found here in Littleton, and the police went in, and the Littleton Police Department is the best there is. I mean, they work really well with us. We go in. If we took custody of those, the town would be charged for the medical care, room and board, and so on for those animals till either the owner surrendered them or was found guilty, and then we took custody of them. In those cases where we've dealt with animal cruelty stuff, we have as an organization, have taken that responsibility, and we've not charged the town anything. And that's true for Bethlehem and Franconia and other places. So that's part of our mission of serving the town. But it's a real issue. So something like what happened in Moultonboro, when they took in 100 Great Danes, and the cost of that, going through the courts for 2 years, the town was responsible, but the National Humane Society of the United States took on the financial stuff and helped the town out. But that's a law that Governor Sununu supported it last year. They got convoluted and it didn't pass, but we're trying to correct that to take the burden off the towns, so the perpetrator has to take on that responsibility, not the towns. So we're working behind the scenes with some things like that to take some pressure off.
Financially,
Yeah.
I know that last year you asked for, what was it, 5,000?
5,000. Mm-hmm.
And the vote was 624 to 454, so it was well supported by the community. But I think we're always interested in, you serve a lot of the communities around here. Do you also place a petition warrant article on their ballots
We ask every town.
for the same amount, or?
What I said, like $1 a person kind of thing.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
yeah, that's kind of our goal. So the town I live out in Easton, we get 200 people. I ask them for $300. So, and most towns do that. We have a couple that, you know, choose not to, just like but we ask that. Because we service all the towns. I mean, one dog, we take in one dog. I mean, spay, neuter, shots, etc. I mean, I don't know how many of you have dogs and take them to the vet, but
It's
I mean, these new tick bills, you take, they're over $80, you know. But, so we take care of all the medical needs, all the expenses, even with our discount, it costs us $700 just on a dog, even if we don't have anything, any emergency.
Now, if somebody adopts that dog from you, which is your ultimate goal,
Yep.
do they pay that $500?
Well, we have a.
Some places they do.
I know. I mean, if you go get a puppy or a dog from North Conway, you're gonna pay $500–600. We have a fee, we like to get a $250 donation. But if we have a special needs dog, and a lot of them that come into us are older, maybe need medical, you know, we'll just take a donation. And sometimes we'll even commit to, a couple who head out there older, we'll even commit to paying the medical bills. If you just take the dog, give it a good home, we'll take care of the medical bills. So we're just a mom and pop operation, but we service this community. Now, we don't generally take in dogs from other areas. North Conway works with an organization called Brother Wolf, and they bring in a truckload of dogs every month or so from kill shelters down south. And we don't do that. We do help out when we have a major situation like the Great Danes out of Marlborough, or a hurricane situation. If 100 dogs come up from New Hampshire, you know, we'll try to take in a few. I mean, we took in 15 on Katrina, which was kind of our limit. But at that time, we rented out kennel space for it. But we just try to focus on the community.
Any other questions or any questions from anybody?
Can you define puppy and horse?
I would say people that are breeding the dogs in, you know, for money, that are not in a normal, humane, you know, home. We had one down here recently, not Littleton. We had 24 of them this year. And they're all in little cages. They've never seen the grass. They've never been outside. You know, a couple of years ago, we had one of these puppy mills locally dumped 14 chihuahuas out in the, all around the area in the middle of the winter, because they didn't want to pay the cost to euthanize them, and they weren't good for breeding anymore. They just went and dumped them. And I don't know how many there were, but we caught 14 and saved them all. They were all older. None of them were spayed or neutered. You know, they were just kept in these cages. So they breed them like you would commercial chickens. You know what I mean? It's just no room, no light.
But don't have an understanding what the business entails, and
you know, and they sell them. I mean, we had one, not in Littleton, but close by. A guy was breeding huskies, and he had them tied out on stakes in the woods. And you know, we had, and the town didn't have a police department. I had to go with the state police go in and raid the place and save the dogs. But you know, they just breed them, and they're not taking care of them. A lot of times they don't register them with the town, right? So we go in there and, oh, we didn't know they had 30 dogs. Yeah, they never register them. They don't have the shots, whatever. And they sell them online and that kind of thing. And usually they're smaller dogs, purebreds, you know, small adoptable dogs. They sell them out on eBay or something like that. And the trouble is, in the North Country, in small towns, because the police department, or they don't, a lot of towns don't have a department, and they don't get investigated, and there are only 2 people in the state now that are licensed animal cruelty officers. And we have paid them the salary to come up here to help out the local towns, including Littleton. Because there's a special investigation you have to go through, and we'll call them up and we'll pay their per diem to come up and
like you said, special court proceedings too.
Hey Rich, you mentioned you're all volunteer.
Yes.
How are you in terms of staffing? Because I know a lot of organizations that are all volunteer, they run thin from time to time, but do you experience any problems from time to time?
Well, what we've done, we have established a symbiotic relationship with a commercial kennel. Pam Yarish, who runs Franconia Business Connections, Brookside Kennel, which is right there, right in the Franconia, right across from Coughlin Pond. She has a little commercial kennel, a daycare puppy thing. She's on our board. And what we have done is we have put quite a bit of money into that with a septic system and, you know, a new grooming room and an isolation room and kennels, with the idea that she lives there 24/7. So she takes care of the animals for free. We pay for all the medical stuff and the food, but we've made the improvement on the, so in that regard, then volunteers, a lot of times we get kids from Littleton that want to do community service, they'll come down, and I know a lot of the special needs kids I work with, we go down and we let them walk the dogs and things like that. So we have, in a sense, a resident caretaker. And then volunteers help out, and then we take turns if she's on vacation or whatever. But yeah, that's how we cover it. But kennel costs we're eating our lunch, right? I mean, when we're paying, you know, $20 a day for a dog, and we have half a dozen dogs, and sometimes we have some difficult dogs that, and we might have them for some time, we're no kill. But what we do now, if we have a dog for more than a couple of weeks, if it's going to be a hard to place, we partner with Upper Valley down by Lebanon and North Conway, and they take them in. We take care of the financial costs, but they have a much better demographic, and they get to adopt the dogs out really quickly. So some of the smaller dogs we can adopt out really quickly, but some of the harder dogs, I've got one right now, I don't know what we're going to do. We've got a young Mastiff that came into us in the area and had a little bit of an aggressive behavior. He was a feral dog. He didn't know anything. So we have him at a specially kennel, all dogs gym down in Manchester. He's gone through the training and all that stuff, but he still has some aggressive behaviors, and I don't know if he's going to be adoptable or not. But we do everything we can. The idea of no kill, you know, you don't euthanize a dog because you can't afford it or you don't have space, right? But if they're terminally ill, you know, sometimes we get some of these that are older and full of cancer and they come in, or they have a bite history and they're aggressive, and you get them professionally analyzed and they say they're not going to be adoptable, then you could euthanize it. You know. We have sent dogs out to, if you ever heard of Best Friends out in Utah. One of our board members goes out there all the time. She's out there now for 2 months. It's the largest shelter in the country, and they take in all these animals, and they're the ones that did the pit bulls with Michael Vick.
Mm-hmm.
We had one, we go out and work with them. We have sent dogs out there occasionally that just aren't adoptable, but we try not to.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Just quickly.
Yeah.
You said you run an annual budget around $32,000.
Yes.
At the end of the year, how much do you carry over in your budget? Do you have a standing balance usually?
Yes.
Or do you run it really thin to the point where you
Well,
don't have much left?
4 years ago, the organization was on the edge. I had some health problems. I had some open heart surgery, and I wasn't around. And the organization ran down to like $2,000, and they were going to close. All the board members quit, and I stayed with it. And I got a couple more people in, and we built it back up. At one time, we had a surplus of about $120,000 that we were carrying from year to year. Right now, a big expense with this one dog I mentioned, the Mastiff, but after we spent about $50,000 2 years ago fixing up the kennel. So right now we have a budget, a checking account of around $12,000 and a savings account of around $12,000. So we're trying to carry over that, and we're trying to build up every year. So right now that we've got the kennels thing squared away, we're building up a surplus. So that's why we think we can put some serious money into the dog park here in Littleton. That was one of our goals, was to build a dog park in the area, and then the dog park committee was formed. So we're supporting that. So basically, what we're trying to come up with a surplus of $4,000 to $6,000 additional each year to build up, and then we can, if we have a major thing, we can do that. Or something like the dog park in the community that we can, really promote that.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your
I
time.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
To
I think
rush you, it's good stories.
I think we could have a lot more questions.
yeah, well, that was great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you for letting me slip in here.
You have a lot of dog lovers at the table.
You said you're still looking for signatures for your petition for the town
Well,
to submit it?
I don't know where they're at. I've got a couple of places. The co-op, partner of the month with them. I mean, they always get me like 40 or 50 signatures.
Okay.
Garnet Hill is doing great. Littleton.
So we can go to some old places if we want to
Yeah, I mean, if
petition.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think I'll be fine. I haven't pulled them in yet, but I'm sure we'll be okay.
Okay.
If you have some suggestions, I'll let you know. I mean, I get short, but we'll have plenty of support. All right, thank you for your time. You bet.
Okay, and we also have Boys and Girls Club of North Country. And the Sarah?
Yes.
Sarah, would you like to come on up, please?
Love to, thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Shovlin. I am the somewhat new director of the Boys and Girls Club of the North Country. I came up from Philadelphia middle of January of last year, so going on about 9 or 10 months in Littleton.
God bless you.
Thank you, well so far so good. So it's,
we welcomed you in January with some severe weather.
and an Eagles win.
Yeah.
Yes. So to tell you a little bit about the Boys and Girls Club, we are a nonprofit organization that serves the children of the North Country, especially those who need us most, and helping them to become productive, caring, and responsible citizens of the North Country. So our mission is twofold. You heard the first part about serving those who need us most. So that means that because we are a chapter of Boys and Girls Club of America, we are able to offer a no turn-away policy and financial aid to our members. So we are currently serving about 43% of our population is accepting some sort of financial aid. We have some children that are on 100% financial aid. Families can't provide any sort of service other than baking for a bake sale for us. So that's one part of our mission, is to make sure that those who need us most can have the care that they need for after-school services. The second part, helping our children to become productive, caring, and responsible citizens. We're not just accumulating children and putting them in a building and saying, all right, have fun until your parents come pick you up. We are offering evidence-based targeted programming to make sure that we are hitting those 3 different areas. All of our staff are uniquely chosen to be positive, caring, supportive role models for our children, including our van drivers that spend about 20 minutes a day with our kids. That's still a significant amount of time. We are also offering unique programs to help our children become productive citizens. So just because you might not see it in your own house or in your own community, that doesn't mean you can't be an astronomer or a journalist. So we are having different people in the North Country come in to talk to our children about different kinds of professions and what they can do to advance their lives. You heard me mention journalism. We're getting our kids out on the radio stations. They worked with Nate and Corey this past year on North Country Community Radio and actually had their own hour-long radio segment. So they're learning how to become DJs, and the other part of that is they have to write a newsletter, so they're learning computer literacy and how to organize a different newsletter, all with staff, of course. And we're also offering different unique programs that you wouldn't see in some other after-school programs. We're doing jewelry making and art with Littleton Studio School. We're offering archery, sewing, the speaker series and vocational skills, and always reorganizing space to look for new programs that we can offer for our kids. Our program is growing very, very quickly. We are seeing a boost in our summer numbers and our after-school numbers, which is quite wonderful. We saw a 27% increase in our summer numbers from this summer as opposed to last summer. And we are currently up about 46% in our after-school numbers from this same time last year. We had to quick do the math because we had 2 new kids sign up today. So we grew about 16% just in the past month from September to October. So I am expecting us to top triple digits this year in our after-school program. We have triple digits signed up. We have about 121 kids signed up right now. up from about 104 last year. But as you can imagine, on any given day, we're not serving 121 kids every single day. Some kids have soccer on Tuesday, Thursday. Some kids go to grandma's house. Someone's home with a cold. So right now we're averaging about 75 kids a day. This time last year we were around 40 kids, and we ended the year last year serving about an average of 55 kids a day. So in our first few months of this after school season, that number has significantly grown. So it's really wonderful. We have a lot of new faces at our clubs. We have a lot of new friendships that are blooming and blossoming, and some new personalities that are coming in, which is really exciting to see. And part of this, those who need us most, means that we offer a very affordable rate. Our children pay $150 for the entire school year. So if you break that down, it breaks down to less than $1 a day for care. That's really wonderful that we're able to do that, but differently from really any other organization that accepts more and more kids, and you expect your kind of revenue to continue growing. You have got more kids, more people paying, things should be looking up, but actually our deficit and our gap continues to grow with each additional child, because that $150 that they're paying actually costs us about $150 or $1,500 to serve each child. So we have to make up about $1,350 per child that we're serving. So it's a pretty large gap. We're constantly looking for new grants, new programs to fund. We're going out and asking for donations for community supporters. And one of the things that I really consider rather than a donation is more of an investment. You know, you're not just giving a couple dollars here and there, you're investing in your community's future. Where else would these kids be if they weren't coming to our program? These are going to be the kids that are your neighbors, your shop owners, and isn't it great that they're learning how to be DJs and learning how to play your favorite music and write newsletters and be journalists. So this year we are asking for the same that we've been asking for. We're asking for $10,000 from the town of Littleton again. Something that's just kind of note, we do bus our children of Littleton for free. Our organization is located in Lisbon. We are about a mile past the Littleton town line. The bus company charges us $100 per day to drive that extra mile. So we actually end up paying the Littleton bus company $17,700 for the year. So a chunk of that $10,000 contributes to the busing fees. A large portion goes to financial aid, staff, new programs, spaces, keeping up the safety of our club. We're working on a kitchen right now that we just got a huge donation of equipment for. We're also working on improving the safety of our court. Our gym floor needs some work. And then, as you heard me mention, the new programs. We're looking to partner with some different organizations, the Littleton Senior Centers and some other places, to really enforce some community service in our kids.
So which towns do you actually service?
For summer or for after school?
For after school.
For after school, we are serving Bethlehem, Franconia, Sugar Hill, Easton, Littleton, Lisbon is the last one.
And though obviously Franconia, Easton, and Bethlehem aren't on the same bus
That's
service,
correct.
do they?
They receive free van pickup. So we have 2 van drivers. We have 2 13-passenger vans right now. Last year, we were running 1 van to both schools because we were only getting about 4 or 5 from each school at the time, so we could run 1 and get them both. We are currently running both, and both have a wait list. So we have a wait list of about 6 kids on Bethlehem's list. They're doing a field trip later this week to see if they can run their own van from Bethlehem. We're trying to get creative about our solutions, and then we have a wait list of 4 at Lafayette right now. So that's a free of charge service for those families. They still pay the $150 and we get them there.
So do you also place petition warrant articles on their ballots?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it approximately the same?
We asked based on the numbers that we're serving. So we asked 1,000 from Sugar Hill last year, but we were only serving 2 kids from Sugar Hill as opposed to about the 43 that we're serving from Littleton. So we try to look at the numbers of the specific towns and how many kids in each town we're serving, and similarly to the dollar a person for the the animal rescue, we try to base it off of the number of children that are coming from each of those areas.
And do Boys and Girls Club place a petition warrant article or a request, I guess, not a petition warrant article per se, through the county?
That I am not sure. Grafton County, we get a grant from Grafton County, but we're not,
Petition warrant article for the whole of Grafton County? I'm on the board as well, Boys and Girls Club. I don't believe it.
Okay, I was just wondering, because we're basing the financial package on the Grafton County request that we get. And so I'm not quite sure which of our agencies actually place a request through the county. So I just wanted to.
I'd be happy to look into it and get back to you with that information. Unfortunately, I'm still kind of wrapping my head around a lot of the whole town process is a little bit new for me, so I'm happy to look into it and get back to you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Sarah?
Yes.
Just to clarify, you said, is it right that on average you service 43 students from Littleton?
That is how many we have signed up right now. That number
What's the
fluctuates
average?
on a day-to-day
You have an
basis.
average for the year,
Yeah, I'd say we're probably averaging about 35 a day.
35 a day?
And the summer program.
Summer program, we served 24 children from Lisbon.
And how much do you?
I'm sorry, from Littleton.
How much do you charge for the summer program?
$120 per week or $25 per day. That weekly fee and the daily fee includes swim lessons that are free of charge as well as open swim. It's really wonderful. We partner with Evergreen and walk our kids up and they get to go up there 4 times a week. We also offer a weekly field trip for a weekly fee that's free of charge, and for the kids that are paying a daily rate, if they only come on Wednesday or only come 2 days a week, they get to go on the field trip for only $20. That includes 2 snacks as well.
Do you have scholarships for the summer program?
We do.
Now, you don't means test for any of these charges, as far as you mentioned, like $150 per after-school charge, and that doesn't matter on the family's ability to pay in terms of like if they're eligible for free or reduced lunches or whatnot. There's no.
We do ask that all families fill out a financial aid application. We have a grid that we use based on the number of people in the house and their monthly income level. We ask for pay stubs and anything else that they might be doing, including child support, things like that. We then spit out a number to say this is what you qualify for. However, because of our no turn away policy, please let us know what you're able to provide, if we can come up with a payment plan, if there are some other sort of in-kind service that we can offer you. We have one woman who does CPR for us and we trade service for her son free of charge. So even though we have a number that we go back to them with to say according to Boys and Girls Club of America and what we think you should be able to pay, we still say we still take the children without the payment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Just to go over the process a little bit, probably towards the end of our budget cycle is when we sit down on the warrant articles and we, just either yay day or yay day. So we don't do that now, we'll do that towards the end.
Okay.
And we do that on all of the warrant articles before us. So I appreciate it. And
Absolutely. If you guys think of any questions or need any additional information, please feel free to shoot me an email or call the club and be happy to provide it for you.
All right,
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Sarah, thank you.
Okay, so now, if my notes are correct, come on up and introduce yourself. So this is the Ammonoosuc Community Health Center?
Yes, that's correct.
Notes are correct.
I'm Jill Kimball. I'm from Ammonoosuc Community Health. I'm the Community Relations Director. I have a couple things to pass out. Just to give you a quick overview of our dental program and who we serve and who we served last year for. Here's a little story on the back too. That gives you a quick infographic snapshot of some of our stuff that we're doing up with dental. I also have copies of our last annual report and our audit too, in case anybody has any deep financial questions that I can't answer. Because there's a good chance that I probably won't be able to answer them. Creativity, yes. Numbers, Anyway. So, I'm with Ammonoosuc Community Health Services. We are a federally qualified health Center. We receive funding from the government and the state, and also from town support as well. And this year we are asking the town of Littleton for $15,000, which is the same amount that we've been asking for quite a few years. I've only been in my position for a couple of years and I'm still new to the process, but as far as I could tell, that number hasn't really fluctuated. We have 6 sites, including dental, and the 6 sites are located throughout the North Country, Grafton, and Coos County. So we serve 26 communities in this area, and we serve about 11,000 people, which is roughly 1/3 of the population comes to us for primary care, behavioral health, dental, nutritional services, and other things that we provide to them as well. So, and for Littleton, I think we serve about 2,200 patients. So I think briefly that breaks down to approximately
23.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Yeah, so a third.
And some of those though are, they pay their.
Yes, that's our client mix, or sort of how we mix it out, and that's also in the back of our annual report as well. But I'm just gonna try to see if I can find that data for you. Yes, so full pay, private insurance, 1,000 of those are privately insured. And you would think that since we have Obamacare and everybody has to be insured, that it would be a full 100% of people insured, but that is not the case. A lot of people do not have insurance still, and we may see those numbers increase next year as there won't be any regulations in terms of having to have insurance. So we do expect that will increase, as well as our sliding fee requests. So ACHS doesn't turn anybody away for an inability to pay. They can use their regular insurance. If they don't have insurance, or if they're underinsured, then they can apply for what's called a sliding fee scale. And I do have information on that too. It tells you how we present that to the patients so they can see. But nobody is turned away. And if you think about dental and how the sliding fee works there, they could pay as little as $25 for their services. Dental, and a lot of people don't have dental insurance, as you know, and it's not covered by Medicaid. So these people have no resources. So the stories that we're starting to see now, we opened our dental center in 2015, are mind-blowing. There's people who are extracting their own teeth. There's people who are supergluing their own teeth. There's people who haven't seen a dentist in 30 years. And on the back of this card, you see a local resident that we have, and she had to make a decision between whether or not she was going to fix her window at her home and pay for her heating fuel, or have her teeth repaired. So what happens in a lot of these cases is they can't afford it, so they go to the ER, and it's $2,000 a day in the ER. If you have to go to the hospital and get admitted. So the cost for preventative care is just much better if we can get them and see them and get some sort of dental preventative care. So that's where we are. So Warren, Whitefield, Franconia, Littleton, and this was 6 sites, including and dental. Those are our sites.
The dental is just here in Littleton, right?
Dental is just here in Littleton, and again, we opened in 2015. We had some funding to enable us to do that. We didn't anticipate that we would have as much as we do, and in fact, our payer mix for dental is about 60%, I think, people who are sliding fee. So we just hired another dentist, and we have a dental director now too. So for a while, we were a little bit backlogged, having people have to wait. So we're making our progress through that. We have 2 dental hygienists that are certified public health. So that helps as well. And we're starting to also go to our remote locations to see some dental patients there. So we have sort of a traveling unit that will go out to Warren, which is really way out there, and there's no dentist to offer for them either. So we'll take our equipment there and do sort of some screenings for them and find out what they need for urgent care. And that's where I found out the story about the people who were supergluing their teeth. It's really amazing. And people have to make these decisions because they don't have the money, and it's hard.
Jill, do you provide any assistance or services for eye care?
We do. We have a vision plan, and we partner with Littleton Eye Care for that too. So you could see if you qualify, and again, it's a tiered system. You qualify for vision care, you could have glasses and a full exam for as little as $65.
So the $15,000, you got 1,200 Littleton patients?
22.
2,200.
Well, but 1,000 pay their own, they're paying their own way.
They do, yes.
So you got
Not necessarily
1,200
for dental,
not paying their way.
That doesn't mean dental insurance either, and our sliding fee scale also covers dental. So they may have, it's hard to actually pinpoint that exactly because we don't know, if these people are going to see our dentist, if they're Littleton residents. We have a quick idea about how many people that we see for that, but they may or may not have dentals, they may have a high deductible insurance, so the 2,200 Littleton patients.
Are being covered by the 15,000.
Yes. Well, I mean, we ask for, just like everybody else asks for, I think we're asking about $5 per per patient.
Per resident.
Per resident, yes, thank you.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
That's
per
about right.
person would be $30,000.
Yeah.
Well, $6 per patient, I thought I calculated that, but I could be off.
A little
So
bit.
22.
We have roughly 6,000 residents in Littleton.
Yes,
So $5 a piece would be 30 grand.
right, but with our patient mix, which is 22, I thought I
Yeah.
calculated.
Oh,
You know what I
okay,
mean?
based
But I could
on,
be wrong.
okay, no, you're
You know what I mean?
right. So basically on those that you're actually servicing, not only,
Right.
some, and Ralph's
Right.
asking that question.
Yeah, your
because
whole
Is,
population.
different, they come in, figure it different ways, some figure it on, Littleton's got 6,000 people, Bethlehem's got 3,000,
Yes.
Frankonia's got 2,500,
Yeah.
they're doing it that way, you're doing it more on actually what your service level is.
That's what I was looking at, but again, that was set prior to me and it hasn't changed, but I figured that was what it was, but I can certainly check and find out whether or not it is per resident. If that's the case, it would be even less.
Okay, now your physical location in Littleton is,
Right on Cottage Street.
on Scottish Street?
Not Eustis, 25 Mount Eustis.
Yeah.
And the dental is right
Did you
down
get your
by
answer?
next door.
Did
But-
you?
Yeah, I got that answer. So all the towns you're servicing, what do you say, 26 towns, 26 communities?
Mhm.
Are you petitioning all 26 communities?
Yes.
And are you successful in getting donations from all 26
Yes, except
communities?
for, there's two towns that we're not, they're kind of outside of our district. I think it's Rumney and there's another one that's way out there. But
Okay.
everybody else, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, well,
That's it?
that's it. I didn't grill you. I'm sorry about that.
Shall I leave the audit report, or, I know you get a whole
No,
packet
we
for-
actually got a digitized version of what you submitted to
Okay.
me. But we will take that.
The brochures?
Yeah, the
Okay, and
brochures.
there is something in here I just did for sliding fee scale too, because we were trying to explain it to our, and this might give you a better overview of, sort of who qualifies, because it really is a tier, and you could be an A, a B, or a C based on where you fit for income too. So I'll leave those as well. And
What's the funding model for the dental? Like, where does it receive most of its? I'm just curious about the
well, we do have
sustainability, not the,
we do have some. We get money from the state, the state and federals, of course.
State,
or
okay.
government, yeah, for sure.
does
And
it, is the outlook pretty good that will continue?
yes, we don't want it to go away. We're really trying to tighten it all up so we can make it, since we were running without a dentist for a little bit, we had some things going on, we really want to tighten up that model, and it is a little different than what we
Yeah.
were doing for primary care.
Right.
And even though we know there's a need because it's crazy, but it's a very different system than what it is for primary.
Right.
So we're still trying to figure that all out, and we're just tightening up as much as we can so that we can continue to provide the care. However, it would be great to have the mix a little bit more for people who can actually afford to pay. But it's hard. You want to serve where the need is,
Mm-hmm.
So spread the word for people for insurance that we also take you too,
There are dentists who do donate time to you? Yes?
No, we don't. We employ our own dentists. Our dental director now did donate sometime previously before he was our dental director because he was with Molar Express. But no, we don't have anybody who donates dental time with us. Maybe when we were without a dentist, we may have had to do something along the lines of that.
But you did say for eye care,
Littleton Eye.
Littleton eye care.
Yeah.
Right.
These are great questions, and if anybody has any more, again, since I'm so new, it's.
But would you actively try to enlist the local dentist to either provide, either participate in your facility or provide so much care out of their
We have a
facility?
good
or-
partnership with a variety of dentists in town.
Okay.
You know, we provide full-service dentistry as well.
Yeah.
And I think we're serving a population that there's a big need for. You know, I think there's no shortage of dentists in town. The question is whether or not there are dentists in town that people can afford to go to. And if you don't have insurance, it's a hardship for
It's
you.
expensive, yes.
So, anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. I'll leave this here with you all.
All right.
I appreciate your time.
We'll grab them.
All right. I hope I answered all your questions.
You did, thank you. Do you have any more, we'll send them your way.
Yes, I'm happy to come back. More information. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Diane, you said we're getting a digitalized version of what?
Did you not receive?
Did you get the email?
Get the email with it? Oh gosh, it was.
Last
really-
Thursday.
Really?
Yes. I will send it again to you.
Yeah, Thursday,
Uh-huh.
the 18th.
Yeah. So you didn't get
I
it?
don't remember seeing that, no, I didn't get it.
Oh, well, everyone was on there, but I'll send it again to you too, okay? So.
Well, actually, I'll check when I get home, it might be on there, I just missed it. I get it. Oh,
Yeah.
So Karen, do you want to come up here and I'll scoot down?
I can.
Yeah.
Is that and that's the,
That's it for the agencies today, and I'm trying to schedule no more than 3 at a time, so we have time for town departments and also agencies. So, we have some next week, and I'm also scheduling into November, the first meeting in November, which reminds me that I need to verify that on November 6th, which was voting day, that we are going to have a meeting. Are we having a meeting on the 6th, voting day? I don't think it's a problem. I just had someone ask me, one of the agencies, are you still meeting?
so this is I think you had 3 weeks.
I had 3 weeks, and then we missed 2 last week, or 1 last week, pathways. So, and we also didn't have the chamber scheduled at that time. So those 2 are scheduled for November 6th.
And on the 30th, we have,
The 30th, we have Grafton County Senior Services, Tri-County CAP, and White Mountain Mental Health. Now, Tri-County CAP, if you're looking at your information, they previously had been asking for 4 separate warrant articles. This time, they're going to consolidate that into 1. So that should be, we should be getting a lot of information when they present, because it'll be 4
and which one is that again?
Tri-County CAP.
Tri-County.
And I heard that they were gonna go back to the different ones, because they were afraid if they combined it all together, if it got voted down, they'd end up with nothing.
Well, that might be, but they're all scheduled for the 1 day, so however they do it, I'm not quite sure, but I can actually call them to see if because sometimes you need a certain amount of time for each one of those to really be able to explain it. So I will follow up and see what they need on that. So I just thought, I've only known 1, it's gonna be 1, so anyways, good to know. So,
I have it, Diane.
okay, did you have it? Okay, good.
If I
Karen and Andrew?
I call it out.
We have a default budget for you.
Oh.
So according to the policy, the select board is actually meeting for a work session, I believe tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning.
And they're gonna go over the budget. If they have changes, we'll work back and forth with them as quickly as we can, so that we can get that to you. So you have a proposed budget as soon as possible.
Yeah, I always thought that it was a little backwards. I just remember when I was on the school board and the timing with the budget committee, sometimes we hadn't finished going through our budget to come up with a proposed budget. And I always thought it was a little strange to start presenting to the budget committee before the school board was able to really get their hands around what the budget was like. And we've been, actually the last I don't know how many years, that's what's happened with the select board.
It's gone back and forth since
Yeah.
I've been involved with the budget. It's gone back and forth, and it depends on the selectmen, it depends on whether they want to hear everything and then wait to hear what the recommendations are from the budget committee. It's gone, like I said, back and forth, and a lot of it depended on the selectmen.
But now we have a policy.
Yes,
Yeah,
now we
well,
have a policy.
I actually think it's great that the select board is reviewing it before coming here, because before it was more like a department head proposed budget. And now this way, it's actually the select board's proposed budget. So I think that makes a big difference.
The extra one is in case you have the default front
It's in here.
It's in there. The only thing that the budget committee is getting today is the default budget, because it has to be presented before the end of October. It's ready. It is still draft, and I apologize for not being here last week.
And so we have this, the draft, this right here, and then these that are attached to it.
The whole thing is a packet of the default budget.
Okay, all right.
When I run it through the stapler, I tried to get it to do the staple without the stapler, so it was not
That's
wasting metal,
You did use a freehold, so.
and it didn't work very good, so.
Okay.
My expertise is not well on the copier.
It's a pretty advanced machine now.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I kind of jumped in.
Mhm.
Did you want to say something
No,
before I started running
You're
mine out?
good, yeah.
Okay. What we have in here is revenues, which is the proposed revenues for 2018, year-to-date to September. And then my first attempt at the MS 434, which before we set the tax rate, there'll be a second attempt at the MS 434. There's a lot of revenues down here that you don't see in this area. I don't like to present them until I can get those numbers to DRA. So we do have an estimate that we're going to be very close to the proposed revenues in comparison. There'll be some areas that will be up, there'll be some areas down. Budget neutral budgets have to be, when we put together the MS 434 for DRA, have to be exactly what was budgeted for that revenue, because those monies cannot be used to offset taxes anywhere, the extra monies that they might be receiving. So in other words, Parks and Rec ended up making more money this year than what we had budgeted for, because we have a very active person that's starting the programs up. We've had some program donations. We had some very successful events, and I swallowed the frog. So those revenues that are above what we budgeted and above what they expended will end up falling to their fund balance, their revolving fund balance that they have, which they have used to purchase items rather than have it come onto the backs of the taxpayers. They have purchased this last year a truck because their truck was falling apart. So they are reutilizing their funds, and they're able to do that under their, they're considered a revolving fund. So I'm gonna move on, and as you see, you have a budget summary that shows the 2018 approved against year-to-date for the end of September, the 2019 default, and then this is just a summary to show you what's up and down in each one of the lines. If you look at just the operating expense, The difference between the default and the 2018 approved is $217,025. So that difference is for just the operating expenditures. You go on to the next page, we have some differences between the library, of course, and the Parks and Recreation. The library is down, the Parks and Recreation is up, and that difference for those two funds is $14,397 between the two funds. Debt service, there's an increase there of $62,675. We did expect an increase because we had some River District bonds that the payments are starting up on. We had paid interest for the first partial year, and this year they're starting payments on them. Under enterprise funds, we have the Opera House, which has an increase, a slight decrease in special detail. Parking meters, there's a slight increase. And sewer, there is a larger increase, and this is because the sewer bonds and the sewer revolving loans that we have started their payments in 2019. So this will have to be adjusted. In here, I need to make an adjustment to the debt service because there was a warrant article last year that's picked up payment on two items that we had leases on. One was the sidewalk tractor, and the other one, something at the transfer station, I thought.
Baylor?
Yep.
Baylor, yeah, it was Baylor.
So I will be including those in that number for the approved 2018 budget, because they do affect that number. So that $494,443 will be a little bit less, and you'll get that number next week when I fix that one page.
So question on line 28, the Parks and Rec increase, was that because of the truck?
No,
That increase?
no, it's an overall increase of all the different areas, and we'll go over that, okay? And I'll try to be quick on each one of the budgets. Executive, as you can see, I have the 2018 approved, the 2019 default, and there is some staff changes. So in the default, we got a little bit of a reduction there. We have a restructured position, which is the welfare executive secretary to the selectmen. And we're also moving, who was the admin assistant, is moving into finance. And you'll see some changes there. We have an estimate, and it's great because plan changes and the health insurance. We're not quite sure what the assistant to the town manager will end up taking for insurance. So this time it's a draft of what we believe. We have a full year of the health officer in this line. There is a decrease in this line of $11,776. It's a little over a 4% decrease.
That's because that went somewhere else that we'll see.
It's part of it is someone else leaving, and the other part is restructure of a position.
So reduction in hours and some of the supporting costs that go with that. Like
But are we going to see the $11,000 in another department?
No, you should not.
And question on the health officer, he's also doubling as a zoning.
Yes,
Is that separate item or?
that's a separate item.
Under the economic planning admin assistant charge to executive assistant to town manager, from 20,000 to 32,000, you're increasing the hours for that person.
Yes,
But that's not the new one you're advertising for, is it?
it is the new one that we've been advertising for.
Okay, you don't have a person in place yet.
We've been interviewing.
Then why did you increase it from a part-time to 32 hours? Weren't you originally asking for 20 hours?
We were. We also had a full-time executive secretary in our office, and that position is actually being restructured to part-time. And that will be a 32-hour-a-week position.
Yeah, but not $13,000 difference. There's only a difference of $3,000 there versus $13,000 to go up to 32 hours for the
We
town
added
manager's position.
Was it healthcare?
the admin assistant to the town manager has increased, the hours have increased from 20 to 32, so that's 12-hour increase.
But you don't even have a person in place yet, so why did you increase it? You originally asked for 20 hours. That's what we budgeted last year.
Yeah, for
We are-
the default budget, yeah, we're hoping to have somebody in place before the end of the year, which would then be default budget, because the person would come in at that rate at 32 hours.
And we're estimating between $15
Oh,
an hour to $20 an hour.
All right, I got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Town clerk, we have a little different change in staff there. We also have a planned change in the health insurance. Most of the numbers that have been adjusted relate to the wage and salary lines. We do have a reduction in poll watchers because there's less elections to watch. There is an increase in this budget of $15,077. It's an 8.94% increase. Most of that's related to staffing and benefits. Tax collecting. There's an adjustment in staffing here. We have included into this budget 4 hours of a deputy. This position has always had a deputy, but it never was put into this budget line. And we need to put in this budget line 4 hours a week, roughly, to be a deputy for the tax collector. The other line that has changed slightly is the data processing. That has been reduced slightly. There's $5,376 increase, it's 7% increase.
So will that deputy be someone that already is in the office?
Yes.
And restructured? Okay.
Okay,
Can I just go back on the town clerk? So how many people do we actually have working in the town clerk's office?
she has one full-time,
Yeah,
plus herself.
yeah.
She has 2 very part-time employees. One might work 8 hours a week. The other one could be anywhere from no hours per week to 10 hours a week, depending on if somebody's out or not.
But they both fill in quite well.
Yes.
Which, I mean, it's good that obviously have the mix, because if you need somebody to step in, at least it's not a cold turkey
Oh,
type.
I know you need to have that, yeah.
We did get someone good, and we were having trouble, and Judy couldn't even take time off. It was, and if you look at the revenues, that office is really increasing in activity. And we're well over $1 million in revenue out of that office, so it's
Very active office. Going to finance administration, you're going to see some changes here. The finance HR director's position is going to be the finance director's position, with a decrease in salary. The assistant accounting HR clerk that was 32 hours a week is all moved to personnel. That person is going to take over a lot of the HR duties. I'm going to have very little hands involved in the HR piece of it. We used to do 25% of personnel from finance. We're not doing that anymore because we're going to have a person in the personnel budget. We did have somebody that was a front admin office person that's now all working in finance. That's working 32 hours a week in finance. We still have a 10% reimbursement from the sewer funds We have some health insurance changes, but it's a very minor change, reduction. Because of restructured department, we have a little bit of a decrease in Social Security and Medicare, and none of us are eligible for the retirement anymore, because we're all going to be working 32 hours a week. We have a small...
Eligible for contribution to the retirement fund.
Right. Yeah. Data processing, this has got a small reduction in it. We have added the every other year it's now called GASB 75, it was GASB 44 requirement that we have to do for the auditors. In here, it's every other year is $3,000. So there is a reduction in this budget of $15,797. That's a 9% reduction. And I put in GASB 68, it should have been GASB 75. The total staff adjustment is actually $19,347.
So go back and explain the 32 and 40 hours a week and put a simple finger.
Well, I retired full-time. I am as of November 30th. I want to stay part-time, and I want to try to work 32 hours a week. That's where my budget can afford, and it's still pretty affordable, I believe, for the town. But I had to give up some of my duties to do that. I could no longer keep running at the pace that I've been going. And Susan, who was our front desk administrator, wanted to get out of being out front. She'd worked for me in the past. She'd been trying to help me some and help my assistant some during the past couple of years. And I really would love to have her back. Been in talking with the town manager, trying to work it so there was no big increase anywhere in the finance department's budget because of wages and salary, and in the personnel budget because of wages and salary. And trying to be the finance and HR director was taking a very big hit, health-wise, mental-wise, and getting burned out, extremely burned out. HR is no longer a little job.
We just did the same thing in our company.
It is.
Too many hats.
It's just too much.
It's
unpredictable.
It is.
Yeah, so we just did the same thing.
And having a plan on doing something in accounting and coming in and having something come up first minute I get in there that might take 2 or 3 days to do.
It's very unpredictable. Similar to, welfare maybe not as heavy of a load, but unpredictable in what might come up. There's also a lot of planning involved that you can spend a lot of time on doing. But what we're able to do is take a look at all the different positions, and then rather than just look at the positions, see what the tasks were, and allocate them by hours, and then we're able to shift people based on that, and look at some of the more efficient ways. Like having somebody who just does AP, for example, accounts payable, and then having someone who does all benefits administration and HR, and then letting Karen focus on what she does best, which is finance. And in doing that, there's some positions that hit the 32-hour mark. So according to the state law, which I think is what you're asking about, if you keep someone below 32 hours a week, they're not eligible for contributions to the retirement system, either by us or by them, I don't believe.
It's 34 hours a week.
So 34 would be the trigger. So by dropping down to 32, where there's 11% cost savings.
Yes. So on my...
In addition to
That's what I was wondering.
like
I
a
mean,
7.62% too, through Social Security and all the other things too.
Well, if you look down to the retirement alone, by me being reduced to 32, even though we're absorbing some staff within those 2 budgets,
6,000.
it's $8,677 in retirement monies that could go back into this so that I had enough staff to do the work that needed to be done.
So how many people will end up in that department?
There is
Yourself?
3.
3. Okay. So it'll be yourself doing finance.
Yes. I'm going to have an accounts payable accounts receivable clerk. She also helps with filing, and she helps with many other tasks. Journal entry.
Lady's been with you before a while.
Oh, yes, actually, she was hired before I was.
Oh.
So
But she's always been part-time though,
She's
right?
always been part-time.
Yeah.
And she has done this work on maybe a lesser scale, so she's really familiar with it, putting her back there really work on.
Okay. And then,
Then I have my assistant, which is now called a payroll benefits administrator, and eventually we'll have some HR title in the piece of the position. And that person works 32 hours a week. And I think our office will be more efficient. Hopefully I can get caught up and we can start getting some of our personnel policies updated and pay more attention to getting out there and trying to save some funds. And
After we're caught up, I think we'll be in a more proactive rather than reactive. I mean, especially for trying to keep up on the resources and everything that's moving.
good luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, the healthcare's laws have changed a lot, and you're having to make out special forms and make sure you give employees special forms. You have to do the forms at the end of the year, and if they're not done right, they get sent back to you, which you have to do all over again. It's become a big job.
So I'm assuming, I mean, to me, retirement isn't 32 hours of work a week, but it's probably a lot less than we realize that you currently put in, so.
Yeah, it's probably half time.
So going back on the election registration vitals, the health insurance went up close to $10,000. But you had one person go from part-time to full-time? Your assistant clerk?
My assistant is part-time.
No, under the town clerk salary.
Town clerk she always had a full-time person in there, but she has a different full-time person, and they take a different plan.
$10,000 a year for one person?
If you look at what was given you last week, it showed what the insurance premiums are per month, and I think you could calculate out the added cost in that.
And without getting into the specifics, some people have health insurance needs for one person, some have health insurance needs for two or a family, so that may play into that. I don't think we can speak directly to.
Right, you
Yeah.
can't, it's hard to see. Yeah.
I just have a question. Are you worried about, since you'll just be focusing on finance, how you stay up to date with current? I mean, there'll be someone that's focusing on HR portions of things, but there's a cost associated with HR.
They will still be working under me.
So you'll be involved with at least knowing the cost associated with any change of plans or insurance and all that.
That's all part of a piece of finance.
Yeah.
And I get notices from the insurance company. I'm on the list.
Yeah.
They send notice to Andrew, to she's now payroll benefits administrator, and to me. So
Okay.
we're all getting noticed on the same thing.
So next year, if we have questions on benefits and costs, where they go up, there'll be another
I
person here to
still-
answer those questions.
I will probably still be here.
She loves us.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're doing a good job. I'm just curious, because right now you're covering so much. And if you scale back, the other people have to step into that.
And I'm
And
literally
they have
having
to
to
be
do a
able
budget, so.
to communicate with you so that if you're handling the books, that,
The finance piece is still mine.
yeah.
So I still need to know what's going on with all of that piece. The HR piece can be things related to disciplinary actions. It can be related to policies. It can be related to a payroll check being wrong. It can be related to paperwork related to taxes, pieces that aren't as big of a finance piece as I need to know what their hourly wages are or their salary is. I need to know what benefits they have. I still will be involved in that. It's not, I've never been hands-off on that, even prior to taking over the HR.
Sure.
But perhaps there may be another phase to answer questions, but maybe not next year, maybe.
Well, I was just, right now you're.
As far as, just in benefits.
I'm a little nervous about it.
I have,
So,
if the town wanted me and the town manager continued wanting me, as I get older and phase out of things, my dream would be to go to 24 hours a week eventually and have someone step in as finance director. Because at some point, the person doing accounts payable, accounts receivable, will be to the point where she will no longer want to work. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
Contingency plan.
Phases.
Yes.
phases. And it depends. Do you guys still want me around?
Yes, especially when we have a question. And we want an answer, and a good one.
Yeah, right.
So we'll move on to the assessing. I should have moved the personnel administration in here in between, but we'll keep it as it is. In the assessing, we do have an increase in contractual amounts of $7,500. We have some software numbers. I have not received all of them yet. I do have the BMSI number, but I do not have the vision or the GSI maintenance for the properties yet.
And there may be a vision update. I'm not sure if it's next year, so we gotta look into that and see if it's something that we have to get.
So there is an increase in this line of $7,536. It's a 7% increase. Legal expenditures, there's absolutely no change in that budget in the default.
And do we expect to spend this year's budget?
We've got some big bills coming in. There's a delay. I know, for example, DirecTV bill just came in. DirecTV versus Town of Littleton, that's a pretty significant one. We'll have a better idea maybe in another 2 months.
But we expect not to go over.
Oh, no. I am hoping to, in our proposal, I'm hoping to be able to decrease that closer to like 80, 75, 80.
Depending on what actually happens.
Right.
So under personnel administration, we have the person that's working 32 hours a week in here as we restructured. That includes their health insurance, their life insurance, disability insurance, Social Security. Prior to this adjustment, only a portion was coming in here from my wages. The retirement, there's no eligibility for the retirement. There is a reduction in the unemployment taxes. There is an increase in the workers' comp. It's estimated to be 3.5% increase. And the rest of the numbers have stayed the same in the default budget. There is a $20,465 increase in this budget, 16%. There's $18,144 that are staff related. And if you go back to finance, finance was a reduction of $19,347. So I had told Andrew when we did this that there was not planned to be any added cost for the staff. It was this.
But when I asked about that number, we'd find it somewhere else. We do
That
find
in the first page is where you asked that.
For the
Executive secretary.
The 11,000, whatever it was, yeah.
Okay, so that doesn't materialize somewhere else, but the
finance.
But this
finance
does.
stuff, okay.
Okay.
Usually it does, that's why. It's like a checkerboard. It doesn't leave the board, it just moves from one square to another.
Planning and zoning, we have adjusted the duties and title to the planning and zoning. She was originally clerk, and now it's administrator, and she's also the deputy health officer. So part of this restructuring that was done is to have different people that fit into different skills put into the right place, we believe. The zoning officer is now a full year, which is $5,200. The increase in this budget is $1,855. It's a 2% increase. General buildings, we do have an adjustment in the Social Security and the min office janitor. When I calculated it last year, I didn't quite calculate enough for the person that does the janitorial work in the town office. We have a little, I was thinking that we had, in this budget there is only one other item to note, and this is the space at the bank. We're up for renewal. I do not know what that's going to be. I have it in here as $8,100. Hopefully it will continue being the same amount.
It is, I mean, but obviously it's the deal that it is because they're interested in doing it.
Right.
I mean, obviously at some point in
I'm not saying
time.
anything else, but yeah.
No, that's what I mean, obviously we
Yeah,
all.
there's a benefit, I think, to having us there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
You
yeah.
get traffic,
Yeah.
funds,
Yeah.
you have,
Thank you.
you also
Process.
could very easily have a tax write-off. I'm not sure. I'm not a tax advisor, but
They don't have a tax write-off, they just don't have any tax income. So, but anyway, but yes, I mean, we certainly know it's a very good deal, probably for all parties. But if that deal were ever to disappear, then obviously we'd have to look at.
We're always looking at contingencies, and so there's a couple of different things that we have in case that we're looking at doing at this point.
so this budget increased by $107. It's a 0.14% increase. Cemeteries, there's no change. Town liability insurance, I have that there's a 6% increase in this. There's actually a decrease. I went 6% from what we paid last year. What they do is usually adjust it halfway through the year. This last year, they did not adjust it halfway through the year.
Our claims have been, I think, really, really good. And one of the things that we've been doing is any contract that we get, we send it immediately over to the property liability company. They analyze it for liability risk, and we make changes before we'll sign with the contractor. And I can tell you that that itself is paying dividends. I was on the phone with the attorney just this afternoon for a pending lawsuit, and they made the contract so tight that the town is just, it's great to be able to have that. I think that shows up in our claim service. So we're getting at our liable claims list that drops.
Proactive.
Yeah.
Outsourcing, our liability.
That's right. Yeah. And the contract review.
I have in the default budget for the Mount Washington Airport only the $6,000. Now there's discussion of whether we need to have what the number was in the contract that's with them or what has been approved in the last year.
Right. I'm under the opinion that the default budget is what's contracted. So even if the proposed said what this body and the select board ultimately agreed on, that what is contractual should be in the default, because that's the way the statute reads. So in other words, the contract says, I think it's $8,600 or something like that, then that's what we should have here. But that doesn't stop us from bringing forward a different number and then putting that in proposed.
And
What is it? What's the contract?
So we have a contract with the Whitefield Airport. I think it's a kind of a consortium.
Yeah, when you say contract, what Bert Ingerson negotiated 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it was now.
But we're still beholden to it. It's still.
Oh yeah, no, that's right. But we've been actually underpaying that.
And they have, which would be a breach of contract, but they allow it.
Yeah, right.
So.
okay, so I'm a little confused on that because before they would come to the budget committee and it was always a warrant article, correct?
No,
Wasn't?
no.
Does
It only had been a warrant article once, I believe, and that was when they took a whole bunch of things out of the budget and had told the individuals they needed a warrant article. And then they had a warrant article to
That's
have
what I
the
remember.
selectmen sign the agreement with the
Okay.
airport.
All right. So it never should have been taken out of the budget. It should have always remained in the budget because it was a contractual obligation.
Yeah, so basically 20 years ago, whatever it was now, kind of like by, or maybe longer than that. But I mean, Littleton agreed to support the regional airport. So whether we actually have a right to say no or adjust it downward is questionable. But I think that the people running the association, if you were to realize that they've been trying to build up support. So in years that we didn't give them the full amount, they still worked with what we approved. But it was a long-term commitment that the town of Littleton made to that airport.
Well, isn't there a date of expiration on it?
Well, that I don't know. I can't say that for
How
sure.
can we
but-
have a lifetime contract?
I don't know.
And you're saying it's $8,000 the contract?
I have to look at it. I don't know, I don't remember the term. It's been a while since I looked at it.
Because again, out of all the towns in the area, including Mount Washington, they don't even support that airport. The town of Carroll and town of Mount Washington does not support it. There's only 4 towns that support that airport, and I still don't understand why Littleton has to support it when no one else is,
Yeah.
except for Littleton and Whitefield.
You know, and I think that this group last time and the select board both asked the airport to begin tracking some information so they could give you better information to try to answer that question, to say, you know, what is the value proposition here?
Are they gonna be coming here again to present?
I think you requested them to, so.
I have not.
You haven't heard from them?
I mean, I have not, but I mean, I certainly will.
But I mean, last year, I think that,
Just have an update.
Oh, yeah, it was expected last year that they'd be coming back this year with some better numbers, better tracking.
So I think I can get,
Yeah.
if you want to do it, or if I'm supposed to do it, just
Well,
give
I
me the
can-
contact information. I don't have the
do you have
contact.
the comment?
I cannot.
Send it to her.
Yeah, I'll find it and get it to you.
Oh, thanks.
Don't we have somebody that's appointed for that?
Isn't there a commission or board that?
There is a commission.
Yeah, I mean, isn't there someone representing us? I thought Jim Mason did it.
Yeah,
Dave
you're right,
Dave Ernsberger
Yeah.
took Jim's position, right?
So,
Dave is not there on that anymore.
Yeah.
And he isn't in town right now either, so.
Other irons in the fire. Also known as grandchildren, I think.
And then could we have someone maybe clarify the terms of the contract as far as when it expires, or, you know, is there a review?
I'd actually like to
You get a
get,
copy of it.
I'd like to get a copy of that as a citizen, to see exactly what my taxes are paying for there.
So anyhow, if I get that information, I'll get them
I
here.
think it's.
We are curfewed, Karen, 10 more minutes.
Okay, well, keep going. There's no changes in the Advertising Association. Other government, as I said, the only thing in there that is light grade is the airport. Under Police Department, the change in the wages include the new officer. There is no wage increases factored into any of these numbers as the contract's up. And in the default, we do not factor in an increase for non-union. No changes in admin, other than, of course, changes that are adjusted. Or part-time officer, or an overtime. The change in the health insurance, because of different plans, we've had some changeover, and some staff take family, some take two-person, and it's not something that we can
Right.
decide.
You know, a question I have to ask that you weren't here last week, so I have to beg off on. But Andrew gave us last week the contribution rates for the state retirement system, which are actually down a
Yes.
smidgen.
Yes.
And actually last night on the news, the governor, so politicking or whatever, but somebody asked him a question about that, and basically said that the retirement system fund has done a little bit better than
Yes, it has.
expected, which obviously it should be because the stock market has been going gangbusters, which isn't obviously gonna last forever. There'll be a correction at some point in time, but so I mean, that was good, other than realizing.
This is the correction.
Yeah, yeah, no, but anyway, but that's it. 'Cause I mean, obviously, what we've been looking at for the last 5 to 10 years was basically just trying to keep our heads above water. So I was surprised to see that. Maybe you were too surprised to see that. But,
I was.
yeah.
I was happy.
Well, yes. Although I think also I mentioned last week, I think with the information we got from the school, I think the school's contribution rate is actually up a
It
bit.
went up, yes.
So I'm not sure. There's obviously got to be some different makeup there.
And our health insurance, only a 2.6% increase.
Which is also claims-based, right?
That's great.
So I think at one point, if we could, and I won't go very long on it right here and now, but we need to really understand what is happening between the school and the town on the different rate increases for the health insurance. Why we have such a great news on this side, but we don't have great news on the other side. So, I don't know what it is, but we need to find out.
Let's hold the others.
What might be helpful is if we maybe got a statement from, is it health and liability or just more health?
No, health.
Health.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get a statement from New Hampshire Health Trust just to talk about the components of our rate.
Well, we are considered a small employer too. We're a January renewal. The school does not have the health trust, from what I was told just recently, with any of their groups anymore. I thought they did too, but when I sent information on a biometric screening that we're doing, they emailed me back and said they don't have health trust.
Yes, I think we could really sit down and talk about the insurances, because I think school choice right now, as good as they thought it was, I think it has some basic limitations to it that may not be as beneficial to everybody as we thought. So we need to look at that.
Well, if we keep going on the police department uniforms, there's a contractual number in here increase. Of course, with your added staff, you're going to have added uniforms. And data processing, there is a contractual increase in their IMC maintenance, and in their GPS subscription plan. I thought there was an increase. They just haven't got me that number yet. Apologize. You continue going down. There's no changes between the default and the proposed until you get on page 18. The dual plan portable radios. There may be a change in this. It may be pulled out of here at this point. I still haven't got an answer on it.
Pulled out
of the budget and done a different way. The radios that were presented were not something that, by the time they reviewed them, were not something that were adequate enough. So they may be looking into some grant money for those. So under the police department's budget, the increase is $37,415. It's a 2.14% increase. That includes the new employee that was on a warrant article last year.
And then the non-union position, is there a
There's
number?
no default. There's no increase.
No raise in the default.
Proposed.
Under dispatch, there is a slight increase. This is a contractual amount, and it's $963. The amount wasn't enough to give me any
8%.
percentage. Ambulance, there's no change in that number.
Really, we're set for another year at that figure?
Do you want to stop there then before you get to the final budget?
Sure.
Yeah, so 4 minutes,
That
that's probably
always
enough.
some time.
It shouldn't take too much time this year.
Okay, all right, so we're good then?
I think so.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody.